as long as you have it pre-set up. That's the key. We have it pre-set up. So you just have to click a couple of clicks and it saves the template. OBS is the name of the program most streamers use. It's an amazing free program. Very, very powerful. The biggest issue is it's hard to use. It's complicated. Okay, we're here for Cisco. So Cisco, a little bit uh, checkered, a little bit, but not bad. I mean, there's an opportunity here. There is an opportunity. Last quarter, we didn't get a very good move, and really it was canceled. Um, and I'll show you the video. So here's some data on Cisco. And I'll tell you what, I think that I'm going to trade the end of the day at 50, okay? Because it's kind of fun to trade the end of the day at 50. So anybody that's here watching this unplanned stream, we kind of owe you a stream because last week I screwed up on one of the live streams that we were supposed to have and it didn't work. And I'm also going to stream probably the PPI tomorrow also. I think I'll stream that if I remember, hopefully. Anyway, so Cisco's history, I expect that they'll release the earnings on time. Part of the issue is Cisco is not a super expensive stock. It's not super weighted uh, in the index, but it is important. It is important for all the servers, um, that they supply and build, and I think it's possible it could be a good move. But one of the things we have seen with Cisco is not giant moves and quick reversals. So it's not like they've been whipsaw, blow up your account kind of moves. What we've seen is reversal after not a giant burst. So we don't want to be greedy on the first target, probably in particular. If we're mild on the first target and you get filled, what I'm going to do is move my stop not super close to the current price. That's what I'm going to do. So if you look at the history of Cisco, last quarter they released their earnings about 9 seconds after 4:05. So they're expected at 4:05. February 4:05:15. They were on time and it had a very nice move. February was a profit. November of 24, they released their earnings at 4:05:04 and we got stopped on it because the prop account couldn't handle the data feed. It should have been a winner. In fact, Roz had a winner on her cash account. And it was the prop account data that couldn't handle the speed, which sometimes happens. Sometimes it happens in a cash account. August of 24, it was 4:05:05, a small win. May of 24 was 4:05:05. That is the most common release time, '05 in February. And sometimes we use the adjust button. I have notes about that. And then if we go to November of 23, it was on time. So we go back years, and Cisco has been on time. This has been a pretty crazy earnings season, though, where we've seen stocks we've traded for years, and we've seen them not release their earnings on time. Caterpillar is the one I'm thinking. I mean, that was a big surprise that we didn't expect. So let's set up the Cisco trade. Now, depending on the amount of risk you want to take, you could trade, of course, in a prop or cash, whichever you prefer. You could trade MNQ or NQ. So what I'm going to do is trade this in my best prop, which started out being my most risky prop account, and it has just gotten quite a few winners in it. So I'm going to set up a Cisco breakout because I believe We have a good time and a good setup. Right click the chart, click on News Trader. I'm going to look for a template. I probably have a Cisco template. Maybe not. Oh no, CSCO. Cisco. And we do. Let me just get the right one. We got a good one, pretty recent. So I'm going to trigger 1604.58. That's my trigger time. I'm going to try and use a bracket only of 30. Last quarter we used 40. It was too big. I'm going to have a first target of just 20 ticks and a second target of 70. And the idea there, obviously, is if we get a decent move, we'll get filled and you'll have the opportunity to move your stop, but not too close to the price because Cisco does tend to reverse. So 20 and 70 on my targets, and then 30, 40 on the stop. 40 on the stop. It's not a huge stop. That's NQ. If I'm doing this on the MNQ, I'll use 100, a buck and a half on my MNQ stop. A buck and a half, 150 ticks. It's only 50 cents a tick. And my first target gets hit, BE minus 10. I'm moving my target to break even minus 10. So 1604.58. Currently a bracket of 30. We can't even really test the bracket until after 4 o'clock. But we will anyway, just to get a feel for its space. Well, no, it doesn't even make sense to test it at all. Because if we're going to do an end of the, I think I want to do an end of the day trade. But I'll do that on MNQ. So we've got our left chart on NQ. So one more time, 1604.58 on the activation, 30 bracket, targets of 20 and 70 with a stop of 40. That's my Cisco trade. So we'll call that Cisco BRK. And that is going to be in account 17, but I'm going to check the time. I'm going to check the bracket now because I think the market will go back to volatility somewhat similar to where we are now. We're not at end of the day volatility yet. We're a little bit early. And that's a nice size bracket to manage a trade. I'm going to put my Cisco back to 1604.58. And we have our setup. Okay, we have our Cisco breakout. Just make sure you don't forget to choose the account you're trading in. Apply it and OK it. And make sure your chart trader is on that account as well. And then I'm absolutely setting up a reverse continuation after the news on the NQ. Reverse continue. Plus you have it for the end of the day trade if you want it. Just one position. I'll do a 40 tick target. One position, 40 tick target, 40 stop. It's just an NQ scalp. And I'll also do that in that 17 account. I'll label that NQ scalp. I'm calling an NQ scalp the same thing as a NQ reverse continue. Apply it, okay it, and now we have our Cisco trade all set up on the left chart. MNQ on an end of day breakout trade. I like the one trade, the 1550. Now, we were trying a Chantal range trade yesterday. I'm not doing that today because that trade takes a lot more time sometimes than my breakout trade. So, next time we do an end of day, we'll talk about Chantal's trade. Today, I'm doing the regular end of the day 1550 breakout that I always do. And I'm going to load my template, MNQ, load. So I heard Jackson Browne played at the Beacon Theater in New York City last night. One of three nights in a row, played 3 hours. I heard and read it was one of the most fantastic Jackson Browne concerts ever. He is my idol all the way, one of my highest idols. Now we need MNQ close, not open. MNQ end of day. I might have it labeled end of day MNQ. He wrote what I think is one of the top 5 songs of all time. It's called The Pretender. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal song. Phenomenal. End of day 1549.58. Bracket of 50. Targets of 30 and 60. Stop of 75. I'm only thinking about maybe a 40 bracket. I'm going to leave it the way it is right now. 1549.58 on my trigger. Just 2 little contracts just to see how this trade is working. It's MNQ, 75 stop, targets of 30. I'm going to do 25 and 60 on my targets. If my first target gets hit, I will go to break even. So this is MNQ, end of day. And I'm going to trade this in the opens. Opens end of days is the file, the account I'm using. Opens end of days. I probably should create a separate file for end of days because they are different than opens. But for now, we're going to put that on 15. Let's put it on sim for a second to check our bracket real quick. Don't forget, you got to put your time to 0 to get that to work. All right, we got a nice bracket. Now, the end of days don't always work, right? Just like opens don't always work. 1549.58. I want to keep that open file separate. So I'm going to trade it on number 20, and I'm going to wind up relabeling one of these trade folders, one of these accounts will wind up being a close only account, but I'm not counting today. So we've got, but it's number 20. I think we traded that today. Yeah, we're up 90 bucks in number 20. So I'll tell you what, I think 19 is fresh. We got a few minutes. Let's check 19. Oh, I don't have 19. I hope 18 is fresh. No, it's not. I'm going to leave 20 where it is. We'll do 20. All right, so we've got our end of the day at 20. And then just looking for quick, I'm not going to really spend much time trading after the end of the day because I want to get to Cisco, go back to Cisco because it's 4:05 and it is expected to be right on time. I do expect it right on time. So in the middle, we have our end of day MNQ closeroo. End of day MNQ closeroo. And then we'll go right over to Cisco. All right, so it's only a couple of seconds, 45 seconds until you get what happens at 1550. They get the market on closed data, and that affects the move. And there's market on closed data for the different indexes. And they do announce them on Financial Juice Pro. Now, Chantal, remember, she has a range trade. And also, we're going to have a webinar on opens and closes. I'm going to do it next week. Anyone who has a trade that they want me to share or to test, now I'm not seeing my Dawn orders. Why? Why am I not seeing my orders? Come on. Oh, I am seeing my orders. I'm looking on the wrong chart. God help me. So, not getting much of a jolt on this, folks, at all. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to cancel it. All right. I think it's probably going to go up, but I'm going to cancel it. Didn't get the burst. I purposely used a fairly decent sized bracket. Um, I think the market's going to end up, but it's okay. I wasn't totally thinking about trading end of day. All right. So, and I did cancel. It didn't push the 40 bracket. It's a little big when the move is that small. So I'm taking that setup off. But I still have an NQ after the news, full size NQ if I want to use it. And I don't have anything else. I've got our Cisco trade. Let me go over it one more time for everyone. So we've got our Cisco news. All right. I don't think we're going to really have to worry about what time Cisco comes out. I think we're going to know. It's going to be very clear. And I also have my main, this is my main Cisco trading chart. That's probably a better one for this particular event. So we've got our Cisco. I just have a backup. I like to look at um, Trading View. I love to see that Trading View is offering us the same thing we get for paid. All right. So I like Trading View just to see what it offers. That's the reason I'm using it, to see what it offers. And if for some reason our charts aren't running well on Thinkorswim, we have a backup. So look, the market did move up. It would have been a nice end of day if you all you had to do is stay in. All you had to do is stay in it. Now I have one account that I've been destroying the account by horribly scalping gold today. Did a terrible job of scalping gold. So here's our Cisco trade. We have a breakout. It's very reliable in terms of the time that we expect these earnings to come out. Going to trigger the earnings at 1604.58. Trigger the orders on the chart. 30 bracket, and you may need to use the adjust button. You don't want to get filled before the earnings. I do think their earnings are going to be good. I think if I should get filled early, I'd much rather it be to the long side than the short. And that's only thinking. I'm not going to trade that way. But right now it's a 30 bracket. Targets of 20 and 70. Stop of 40. Break even minus 10 on the target one. Stop move. And trading it in our best trading prop account at the moment. Number 17. Okay. So Cisco's ready to go. Now, if you want to trade the MNQ, I would trade it pretty much the same, but I would use, I think personally 100 stop is plenty on Cisco. It doesn't cost that much in risk to use 150. If you want to, you can. It allows you to survive a whipsaw, right? I'm just looking at some of the news that's crossing over. Now, in theory, there's a 1555 end of the day trade also. I don't enjoy trading that one. I just don't think the moves have been very good lately either. And it just really chopped around, you could see. I think the market's closing up. I believe this market's just closing up before Cisco earnings. I do have an NQ scalp after the earnings if need be. And I'm just using a one position 40 tick target, 40 tick stop in the same account. 17. Trump is signing executive orders at 4 o'clock, so he may be blabbing again. So we'll have to keep an eye on the blabs and see what's going on there. So we'll have to be aware that he is signing executive orders. And I'm just looking through the news to see what else is doing. Not seeing much info on what these particular executive orders are. Doesn't say at the moment. So we're just waiting. I would love to trade at times the 4 o'clock close. uh, he can't. Um, I would love to trade the 4 o'clock close. We've had issues with data feed at 4 o'clock. Chantal, how'd your range trade work? I'm guessing it should have worked today. I'm guessing without looking, which is not very smart, to be honest. I mean, you could still be in it. All right, so now we're just waiting, looking at Cisco in May. It was not a very strong move. $16.05. It took about 9 seconds. Stock was up on the earnings. and the market popped 39, 38 ticks, it looks like, just misfilling us. And then it pulled back quite a bit. And then the market did push up as the stock kept pushing up on their earnings. They had very good earnings. It was also an extremely bullish day on the NQ, and we were very near a high that hadn't been tested in a while. So it was a good long, not a bad long. And then if you go back to May of 25, wait, did I just show May? Am I losing my mind? Yes, I did. Sorry. Losing my mind. I meant to show February. February was a replay, it didn't have the video. 40503, 40505. Pops. Looks like it oh 07. I think I might have said oh 05. Looks like it's oh 07. Oh no, I said 15. Looks like it was a tiny bit earlier than that. The key is it's very almost always around 405, 05-ish. Good burst, very tradable move for Cisco, very tradable. Here's the 4 p.m. close. Googlesby, Fed Googlesby, is talking to reporters. Now, I would be very surprised if Cisco came out early. I would not anticipate an early release. Not because we've had years and years and years of reliable releases. Goolsby, that's his name, Goolsby. Right now, everybody's a candidate for the new Fed chair, right? Everybody probably wants to be the new Fed chair. All right, we don't have a lot of time. Market is not out of control volatile, not out of control. And then we do have an early bird trade room tomorrow morning. We do have a 6 a.m. and we'll see if John Deere gives us a profit or not. That's an early bird. All right, we have 2.5 minutes till Cisco. 1603. Just watching market very quiet, which I like. I'd love to make it a 25 bracket. The market really closed bullish. It was bullish this morning when we were in the trade room this morning. Um, and then they just sold off a little bit. I wouldn't say there was serious negativity at all. So I definitely missed that 1550. Look at that move. It actually continued up and up. Sometimes, look, there are too many distractions sometimes. All right, our orders are going to show up 1604.58. Here's our brackets. Now I hit the adjust button because now I shouldn't have hit the adjust button because that was the burst down. That was the burst down. So that's a shame because I adjusted my way out of this trade and it could ruin the trade. It could ruin the trade. The market burst quick enough. So I'm going to combine my orders because I don't think I'll get, if I'm lucky enough to get movement towards the downside, I've eaten up too many ticks. I ate up too many darn ticks by hitting the adjust button way too late. So I'd like to get more of a push down, and that was just a little bit bad luck on the adjust there. And that happens. Now we're getting a little help by the stock pushing down. I'm not going to go for much profit. I really just want to get out because I've given up most of the profit in the bracket, unfortunately. But I don't want to take a full stop either, so I'm shrinking my stop a little bit. I'd like to see a little bit secondary push here, but really it was just sometimes that adjust button can work against you if you hit it too close to the trade, and that's what I did. I definitely hit it too close to the trade, and I think it's going to get me because of that. And that's why I shrunk the stop. Maybe not. You never know. If we can get a little bit of downward push, the market's bullish. That's now the thing is the earnings are negative, but the market's still kind of bullish. Cisco, they're not all that important. They're important, but they're not the end all be all to this market. So I'm not taking a full stop, but it's like I said, at this point, I'm just looking to get out flattish with a couple of ticks because it was my mistake that screwed up, and that's what I'm doing. Just take a small profit, cover my expenses because I adjusted the profit out of the trade, and that happens. Now, I would be careful here because look, now they get the cancel the breakout, right? If you're out, everybody hopefully should not have lost money. Not everybody would have hit the adjust. If you didn't hit the adjust, you probably had a better opportunity for profit. Okay? I'm turning off the breakout. We still have our scalp, I don't know. I'm really not feeling a big scalp move after this news. I'm almost content to just cover the expenses here, and it's always another trade, another day, another move. So if anybody wants to check in, let us know what happened to you, what you did, what'd you do. But right now, you could see the markets, it's not really pushing up or down. Cisco is still down from the earnings. We may be getting a little bit of a sell off from these markets being at such highs for so many days. Yeah, Shanta, I feel that I definitely adjusted my profit. I mean, I think I could have made an extra $60 maybe if I didn't adjust my way out of the profit. It just didn't move enough. But it wasn't terrible. It's not a terrible move. If you check the ruler, uh, the candle. Wait, we got to go to the right place. Let's go to the right place. That would help. 1605, right? I'm going to 1605. So, ballpark. I mean, it could have been a total of 50, 60 ticks. We did have a 30 bracket, okay? So, there wasn't have a ton. There wasn't a ton of profit, but there was some. Keep in mind, Francis, that on a sim breakout, you don't have much slippage being accounted for. The slippage isn't the same as in a live cash account. There is slippage often in a live cash account that doesn't exist in a sim account. Sometimes you get better fills in sim. But even still, if you caught 20 ticks or 18 ticks with two or three contracts, you can have a decent trade. There was not a history of Cisco blowing accounts up. So, anyway, let's take a quick look at the video and then we're back at 6 in the morning. So let me just render this and go right to the trade, and you can see what happened. All right, here we go. Let me get rid of the clock. Now, so what happened was we had brackets. Right there was that adjustment made total sense. But then the earnings were there. Let's look one more time. Probably shouldn't have done anything. It would have been better. But that adjustment was before the earnings. But I did it a second time. And then right after that second adjustment, the earnings had already started shooting down. All right. Yeah, Francis, I think it was possible to get some profit. It wasn't a lot, but there was some. And then finally, then we got a little bit of a pullback, but then there was a second push on the stock down, and that helped get us out safely. And there was the second second minute was still down, and then we got that little bit of push right there. And it didn't, it was the perfect place to get out. Although it did go down a few more ticks. It pulled back, went up a tad, then it pulled back, went back down a few more ticks. But a great trade would have been had it tested the low, but there wasn't anywhere near enough power for that to happen. You know, if it's an Amazon or an Apple and you get negative earnings, you're going to get a test of that low. Very good possibility that you get that. Well, thank you everyone on YouTube for joining us today. And if you want to become a member, it's real easy. There's a link. Let me put a link in the chat, and then we're going to close out. Just www.gopro25.com. And if you want to learn all about our software at a great webinar coming up this week, Software Quick Start, I'll put that link in also. I'll put that in the trade room. Also, I think that's going to be a very useful webinar for everybody. If you need a refresh on the software, it'll be good. And it may just be too much. Let me shorten that on YouTube, see if that'll work. There we go. All right, I'm going to close the YouTube stream. Thanks, everyone. We're going to be in the room for John Deere in the morning. 6 o'clock. Deere is not